How could a game this good have boss battles that are so bad? Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking at the worst video game enemies of all time, specifically the bosses in Deus Ex Human Revolution. For this video, we're doing a deep dive into our number one pick for our list of top 10 video game enemies that ruined everything. So if you haven't seen that yet, head on over to Watch Mojo to check it out.
Yeah, like who? Who?
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Bosses are meant to not just test our reflexes, but also our knowledge and our proficiency with the game's mechanics. One of the most famous examples is the Batman Arkham series, as most of the boss fights in those games demand you master countering, how to pull off different takedowns, and how to utilize every gadget.
What? Oh!
For a more recent example, Doom Eternal, which we placed on this list for its marauders and tentacles, kept boss fights interesting by constantly pressuring the player to dash, switch weapons, and know when to burn, freeze, or blood punch enemies into oblivion. This was a good way for the game to remind the player to keep health and armor up at all times. What brought Deus Ex Human Revolution down was its very focus, player choice. The Deus Ex series has been known for providing players with various ways to build their character with a certain playstyle. You can turn protagonist Adam Jensen into a gun-toting warhead, a sneaky assassin, a mischievous hacker, etc. In other words, you're supposed to play the game your way.
I was engineered to monitor communications and data streams, to find out what people are talking about and make sure it's being discussed correctly.
While the other Deus Ex games may or may not fulfill those aspects of the game, Human Revolution sticks out specifically because the boss fights do not compensate for the player's build. Most, if not all of the game's boss fights demand you augment Jensen to the point where he's an unstoppable gun-wielding machine. If you go for any other build, your boss fights are going to be long and grueling. However, this goes against the whole idea of playing your way. The thing that hurts more is that there are several other games that exercise player choice without compromising the game's design. The recent Ghost of Tsushima allows players to take down Mongols through stealth or standard combat, and no matter which playstyle you choose, the game provides you with enough opportunities to accomplish both, or even switch playstyles midway. For a title closer to Human Revolution's RPG-like augmentations, Fallout New Vegas allowed almost every character build imaginable, giving players windows to utilize high charisma and talk their way out of a situation, or aim their weapon at the head of whoever coughed in their direction. Borderlands, while a tad more restrictive on options, practices player choice by providing 3 unique skill trees, which, in turn, creates even more ways to play certain character classes.
So you gotta hijack a train, huh?
What all 3 of these games accomplish is giving the player a number of options to play the game their way without sacrificing other aspects of the game. The level design didn't suffer, the combat was still fun, and most importantly, the boss fights were tailored to every type of experience.
Sorry, Captain Flitzer! Please, don't burn me again!
Arguably, the biggest problem with Human Revolution's boss fights is that they weren't even designed by Eidos Montreal. The studio had actually considered axing boss fights entirely at one point just to meet deadlines. Instead, they were outsourced to another Canadian studio known as Grip Entertainment. Studio head Paul Krasuski addressed the ire of the boss battles in a video released a couple of weeks after the game launched. In it, he explains that the team had to, quote, take our tech and inject it into the game's engine. He also confesses that he's more into shooters and didn't know much about the Deus Ex series.
Get rid of him, Barry.
Oh, that's gonna be a pleasure.
Admittedly, Grip Entertainment is only the middleman in this predicament. What makes this more frustrating is how the game was marketed when this problem was present. Mere days before Human Revolution launched, OneUp.com published an interview with director Jean-François Zugas, where Zugas stated, quote, sometimes we have constraints that force us to lead the players in some direction, while emphasizing how the game is played and what players can choose for their actions. As history was written, this was not entirely the case. The boss fights clearly favored only a specific playstyle.
But why? Why take them at all?
An acquaintance of yours has the answer.
Can we fault the developers, though? Well, mistakes were definitely made, but developers face a difficult dilemma: outsource or miss deadlines and delay the game. This was simply another case of rushed development, as well as a lesson in maintaining communication between the developer and the player. When you tell the player they can do something only to revert the rules, it makes your game frustrating. You can't tell them to build a wooden house using only Lego bricks. It just doesn't work that way. If you're encouraging custom skill trees and such, you need to make sure every part of the game allows for that and conveys those choices clearly. Otherwise, it may alienate a part of your audience.
Just be careful, Adam. Because everybody lies.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MojoPlays, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.